Hi, I'm Meg Medina, and I'm the author of The Girl Who Could Silence the Wind, which is coming out from Candlewood Press, March 2012. I thought I'd read to you today from the prologue, and then we could talk a little bit about the novel. The curse on Sonia Ocampo's life came without warning before she was even born, cleverly disguised as good luck. It blew in on one of the worst storms anyone in Tres Montes had ever known. The wind moaned as it bent pine trees in half and stripped them down to bare sticks. Bawling cows were dragged down the mountain on waves of mud, and far below, in the canyon, the river swelled and churned like an ocean. The villagers huddled in their houses and cried out their final prayers to any god who might still have pity. All but the Ocampos, who were too busy coaxing a baby into the world. The tempest, like the birth, raged on for hours, but when at last Sonia Ocampo slipped into the world blue and shivering, the wind miraculously ceased and the river calmed, leaving behind a peaceful and starry night. The next morning, the people of Tres Montes were shocked to find themselves still alive. They donned rubber boots and climbed over rubble to reach their church ruins. Each family was counted. Not a single life had been lost. No one could explain their survival. But then, they learned of a girl who had arrived in the night. The elders gathered to inspect the child closely. Wrapped in her grandmother's shawl, she wore the unmistakable look of a sleeping angel. She must have been sent to us by God, the old miners proclaimed, unaccustomed as they were to good fortune of any kind, to protect us from harm. The coppersmith was ordered to his forge, where he pounded out a nugget of metal against his anvil until it revealed the shape of a girl with her arms open wide to the world. This was the first milagro ever pinned to Sonia Ocampo, and it was with that simple prick of a prayer charm through her swaddling cloth that her terrible destiny was fixed to her for good. So, The Girl Who Could Silence the Wind, I started writing like in 2005, and you can see it's 2012, so it has been a really long journey. And the one thing that this book taught me is to have faith in revision. I mean, drastic revision. Revision where you wipe the slate clean and maybe keep one or two of the original characters. And that's really the kind of change that went on in this novel through the years. I resisted it for a long time and always felt like I had to lick my wounds after each, other revision. But in the end, I ended up finding the right story, the story that I was trying to tell and was just sort of unable to do in the early time. So, you fall in love with characters as you write them. They become part of your family. You spend so many, in my case, I spent so many years with them, right? We're having all these imaginary people chattering in my head. I think my favorite character, of course, aside from Sonia, who has, takes such an enormous journey in the novel. I really like Pancho because he's honorable, because he's a poet, because he believes in the power of story. Every time I had a chance to write about him, I was really happy to do it. But sometimes I like the bad guys too. Dalia is so wicked sometimes, but you could count on her to do the really hard things. And even Teresa, that old nasty thing in the capital, when you really get to understand what's driving her, you can't help but admire what she went through, just really understand her in a new way. So I don't know, of all the things I love about writing, it's discovering the characters, I think, that I like the best. So the interesting part of writing any novel is that sometimes the book you end up writing is not the book you thought you were writing. I don't outline at all. I just follow my characters through the story. When I first started writing the novel, I really thought I was writing the story of Sonia and to some extent Pancho. But as I kept writing and more characters were chattering and horning in on the action and so on, I realized that Sonia was part of like a whole generation of young people in Tres Montes trying to fight for a future. And so as that theme started to unfold, I realized that I was really writing in a way through magical realism about really one of the most savage parts of savage things going on in Latin America today, and that's migration. You know, you open any newspaper and that's the story that you can see. People being mutilated, kidnapped, murdered as they try to cross into this country. And whatever your political leanings are on that topic, it's impossible to ignore the human tragedy. So what I really want for this book to do is to get people talking about why people migrate, why people take risks like that. Is it worth it? Do we owe young people anything in terms of helping them have a future and get, achieving dreams and so on? That's the kind of conversation I want to see in classrooms where Latino kids sometimes have to deal with a lot of stereotypes and so on. I want to see it in families. I want to see those conversations at parties and so on. It would be just, for me, if this novel could open up conversation about why people move and why young people want a future, I'd be really happy. So this is the site where the Hope Tree Project is going to unfold. And basically the Hope Tree Project is a new way for me to sort of launch The Girl Who Could Silence the Wind into the world. At the end of the novel, there's a scene where Sonia really has to make a decision about how responsible she wants to be for everybody's hopes and wishes, all these milagros that have been pinned to her back forever. So what I did is I invited high school artists from 8 high schools all over Richmond to create their own milagro, their own metal representation of a hope or a dream that they have for themselves or for the community. And I've been going around to the different high schools and talking to the young artists about how you make a milagros, how it works in Latin America, and why it's important for everybody to be able to say what it is they dream for themselves. So April 30th, we're going to string about 600 milagros on these 5 crepe myrtle trees. And I'm really excited, first of all, to just know that across Richmond, all these high schoolers are really giving some thought to what it is they want for themselves. Not what other people want for them, but what they want for themselves. And I just think it's going to look really gorgeous when it's all decorated. So it's going to be on display until July. So I hope everybody who's in Richmond or Virginia takes a ride on over to Lewis Ginter and takes a look at the display.